Getting ready to do beef ribs today. This is the condition of the smoker. I did have a cover on it. You might have noticed this in another video. I got some rust right here. Not really too big of a deal. Come the spring, I'll sand all that down and put another shot of paint on it. I just dumped the gunk that was at the bottom out, so it doesn't look too bad. You can see the grates need some work, but I'm going to do the ribs in my pan, just like I did the other thing. Got some rust on the lid. I'll redo all this. I'll scrape all that off so it doesn't fall in the food. And went to Walmart. Now, a big shout out to Sneaky One. I never shopped at Walmart. There's like 3 grocery stores half the distance of the nearest Walmart for me. But he uses this Royal Oak, and I'll tell you what. Not only is the bag super light, but that stuff works fantastic. And I got some hickory. Again, it's going to be beef ribs. Here's my basket. It's not too bad. There's some of the Royal Oak left. I dumped it out, and I got a little fire pit in the back, so I dumped all the ash and stuff from that in there. So now I'm going to just get this cleaned up a little bit and get the meat prepped up, and then I'll fire this up and get the heat. Now, I will say that today's going to be the first time using my PartyQ, so I'm going to get that set up, and I'm going to show you all that as well. So I'm getting ready to prep up the ribs. I got two packs of beef ribs here. I also picked those up at Walmart while I was there getting the Royal Oak. I always get a little extra beef ribs because you can tell there's not a whole lot of meat on them. So 2 4-packs for 4 people is usually enough, and there's it's usually a little left over. This is some of the mix I used that I had left over when I did the pulled pork. So I'm going to throw that in there because my mix is actually going to be quite the same. I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. I'm going to put a couple tablespoons of black pepper right there, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, and then 1 teaspoon of garlic, and right there, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder right here. All right. Now, what I also do is I put a little woe sauce, since it's beef, put a Worcestershire sauce on the ribs, just lightly. I'll lightly coat them, and then I'll put the mix on top of that. I am doing it in the pan. I'm going to try to do it in a pan, like Myron mixing. When I did the pulled pork, it worked out great. He really only does it to keep the grill clean. There's no other real reason to do it. So I like the idea. I don't have to clean the grill as much. If the grates are a little nasty, then I could still put a clean pan with my food in there and set it on the grate and not have to worry about contamination. And that's also cross-contamination. If you're doing pulled pork one day, chicken the next day, and then you're doing beef the next day, so it just helps keep everything clean. So I'm going to cut these up, see if I can get them in there. If not, then I'll scrub down the wire rack and then do them right on the wire rack. I am going to use my deep dish pizza pan like I usually do, and put some water in here. It's beef, right? So I'm going to put apple juice, but I'm going to put water in it to add some moisture. This is actually going to be sitting underneath the beef ribs too. So if they're on the rack, the drippings will go into the water, which is going to be boiling because it's going to be on the lowest rack to the heat, and it'll help apply moisture and give moisture to the ribs. So I'm going to put that in there, and I might put a couple tablespoons of white vinegar in there too, just to help break it up. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and get the ribs prepped, and then I'll show you the next part, which is actually going to be getting the grill ready. I did change the recipe, so I didn't put any paprika or any red pepper in there. And the reason why is because I'm adding this. So I figured with all the other ingredients plus this, it'll be fine. What the hell, call it an experiment. I should also tell you that I don't actually measure. I just pour stuff in there until I think it's like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. So, and I know I'm close. So, results may vary, right? But I wanted to let you know that I've kind of changed it, so I'm not putting anything in there since I'm adding this to it. Okay. So I pulled the membrane off and I cleaned a lot of the hard fat out. You can see this is the end result, right? So here's all the stuff that got out of there, and a lot of this is just really hard pieces of fat. So I cleaned a lot of that out. There's still a little bit in there, that's fine. A lot of that's going to render. So this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. Okay, so I'm putting the rub mix on the ribs, lightly coated, and putting them in the pan. I'm not going to be able to actually smoke them in the pan, so I'm just going to put them on the grate. But I'm sprinkling it on, and then I'll rub it in and kind of just press it, but it's not going to be a really thick coating. This is the PartyQ. I'm going to unbox this real quick. And what it comes with is a pack of batteries, temperature probe, it's like a user's guide, and this is it right here. Alright, so probe goes there, and then this has a adapter on it so that you can connect it to your grill, and they have a bunch of different types of adapters. What I did was I got this one, and because I have the 3/4 inch valves, so this is a 3/4 inch threaded adapter here and like a 1.5 inch plug. I don't need that because this here will fit directly inside, and you'll see when we hook up the grill, fit right inside one of my valves. So then I unplug it, that comes off, and this PartyQ would then just get pushed right in like that. Alright, so now I'll set the temperature that it needs to be on right there, and then it'll blow the air in there to help stoke the fire. Now the reason why you want to use an adapter in this particular case is when I go to snuff off the fire, I can pull this out, I can leave this on there and just turn off the valve. That way you don't have hot air coming back into your fan area and melting out your fan. Alright, so you want to make sure that the air's off. But I also like the ability just to pull this out completely when I'm done, and I can just put the plug back in. Like that, and I'm good to go. So I'm going to make one other modification to my grill. I'm going to cut a little slot in it around the rim right where the lid goes down, so that there's enough of a gap to allow this cable to go through it without getting pinched, and my meat thermometer cable to go through it without getting pinched, because these will be on the inside, draped out to the outside to get plugged in here. So I'll make that modification, and then we'll get this all hooked up and get the fire stoked. Alright, so I got my grinder, and I'm going to cut through this edge and make it just thick enough that I can put those two cables in. So when I put the lid on, and I push you can see how far the lid goes down, right? So when I push the lid all the way on, there's going to be a little gap underneath here where you'll see the wires go through. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and knock that out. Okay, so here's the adapter I was talking about before, and this fits just perfectly inside my 3/4 inch ball valve. This will allow me just to go wide open on it and allow the PartyQ to sit there right here like that, and then it'll pump the fan on, and the adapter's over here for the lead, and my hole is right up here on the side there, so it's all going to be controlled to the same side. But again, like I was saying earlier, the nice thing about having this adapter is that when I'm done, I could just pull that out and close this valve off, so I don't have to worry about having a different type of connection where it's screwed on the inside, because when I go to snuff the fire out, I don't want the hot air going back into this fan and melting this little fan out. All right, so if you got a 3/4 inch valve, you can definitely use this. This adapter, I don't remember how much it was. It wasn't that expensive. I got it right on their website, and I plan on, if this all works out great, just leaving that permanently in there, like that. And then depending on how well it works, I'm going to cap off the other ends. So I got another valve over here. I'm going to take that valve off and just put a cap on it. And the third one in the back already has a cap on it. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get this thing heated up, come up to temperature, get it cleaned up, and ready for the ribs. So just like I always do, I use the side burner on my grill, and this chimney fits perfect right on top of there, and that's what's going to warm up all of the coals that are inside. So I just started to get those done. And then this basket, again, setting up is a minion method, but I'm going to tell you, it doesn't really matter when I use the PartyQ, because one thing I noticed in my last smoke, having one valve open, is the air really concentrates in one area, the area closest to the valve. So because the PartyQ is going to be blowing in here, it's not going to permeate around, it's going to actually be blowing in toward one direction. So this side is going to end up cooking before this side does. And obviously I'm not going to get in there and rotate it. But I am still, distributing the charcoal around so that we can at least try to get some burn going into a circle. But anyway, I just want to point that out, that because the PartyQ is going to be blowing air on one side, this side's going to cook faster than the rest of it. Only been a couple of minutes, and already those coals are getting really hot in there. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and dump it and get the grill fired up. So I'm going to put the basket in there. I'm going to turn the valves wide open here in the front just to get this thing to get really hot, and I'll put the lid on it and the grates on it, and then we'll come back in a few minutes and check on it. The temperature should be about 350 degrees by then, and then we'll be ready to go to the next step. Okay, so you can see I haven't pushed the lid all the way down yet. You can see I got the probe connected. It's connected to the top rack in there. I'll show you in a minute. Now I do have the valve off here because my temperature is 300 degrees, and again, I don't want the hot air to come back into the PartyQ. So the valve's currently off. I'm going to load the ribs on the rack, and then we'll let it cool off a little bit, and then I'll turn the PartyQ, or I'll turn the valve open so the PartyQ can do its job. I just wanted to point out my thermometer probe. The rubber covering to the wires got pinched, and that's another reason why right there, why I cut that little slot in the edge of the drum smoker. So I'm going to go ahead and get these loaded up, and we'll go from there. So I do have my pan of water in here, and you can see that the metal probe is connected to the grate, and the wire goes through that little slot I just made, and the heat probe wire will go through the same thing. Now I can put it a little bit closer to the middle, right here, so it'll get over top the water pan so it has less direct heat. So I'm going to do that. We'll get these ribs on there. I'm going to put the one with the thermometer on it right here. Actually, let's put it right here. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where to put it, where I can put this, drape this wire through there. Okay, so that should probably be fine. Okay, you hear my PartyQ kicking off, so I'm going to open that valve. Start layering these ribs in there. So these set for maybe about, what do you say, G, about 30 minutes inside before I brought them out. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to put them all on here. They're kind of big. Try. that helps. It's a little guy. Let me see. This. Alright, so I'm going to move that probe. To about right there. So then I can push this over. There we go. Now I should have room. Just about enough. Perfect. Okay. So let the PartyQ do its thing. I got it set for 225 right now, and that's where I intend to keep it. And I'd like to get a really slow. Now with the lid down, you can see that it can still freely move this cable. And it's nice, the PartyQ cable is like a stainless steel. This one here I'm going to have to either replace or put something over it. So there we go. Right now it says about 300 degrees. My PartyQ says 137. And that's probably because it's right close to that cold meat. I just wanted to point this out real quick. My target temperature is 225. I'm down now to a little over under 200. So this is right on. But what I think is really cool is that if you notice, it's kicking on, blowing the fan a little bit, and then it stops and checks the temperature. See? And then it'll blow a little bit and see, let the temperature settle, and then blow a little bit. So one of the concerns I had was it was going to kick on and just blow, and then you'd have to constantly try to cut off, cut on to manage the temperature, but it looks like they accounted for that. And so it kicks on, it runs for a few minutes, and then it checks the temperature, and then does it again. So again, my target temperature is 225. It's at 194. I just moved the probe. My gauge here, I don't know if you can read that. So the temperature is about accurate. Right, so we're just getting that stoked up to 225. Okay, so it's been about 2 hours. And let me move this probe here. So what I need to do now is I'm going to take these ribs, and per Myron's book, I'm going to put them in the pan with 2 cups of water, foil them, and put them back on here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I got to foil, got to put it back in here. We got a really good fire going right now because it's been open for so long. So I'm going to put the lid back on it, let this thing calm down. It's going to have to cook for another 2 hours. So I pulled the PartyQ out real quick because the fire was getting seriously out of control. When you look here, super hot, right? So that's just because it took me so long to get in there. So the fire really got rip-roaring hot. So I'm gonna let it cool off, and then we'll put the PartyQ on and let it continue cooking at 275 for 2 more hours. Alright, so it's 6 o'clock now, so it's another 2 hours. I've got some barbecue sauce here. So I'm gonna barbecue sauce. It's getting a little dark. It's still winter. So I've got Sticky Fingers Memphis style barbecue sauce, and I cut it with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these valves off, and then I'm going to open this up, unwrap the ribs. I'm actually going to put them back on the grate, baste them with a little bit of the barbecue sauce, and let them cook for like another maybe 30 minutes, but we'll see, about 15 minutes. I'm going to test them too after I get it all covered back up again, and just for tenderness. Alright, so I'll take some pictures of that. Okay, so I changed it up again. I'm going to leave them in the pan, but I pulled each one aside and basted it. I don't know if you can see the shininess. Because I got a lot of heat here. So I'm just going to loosely put the foil on. I'm not really going to close it, so I'm just going to loosely put the foil on and then put the lid back on the smoker here. Push that down. Alright, so should be about ready. I got both the valves off right now. PartyQ saying it's about 313 degrees in there. All right, so I'm gonna let everything cool off. Let this cook for about another 15 minutes. I think we're good. I had a meat probe and I pushed it in the meat a little bit just to check for tenderness, and it's really close. So maybe about 15-20 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna press this in there. I don't know if you can tell, but it's real tender. So it's definitely ready. So let's grab a fork. Let's cut into them. There you go. Looks pretty good. And cut some of the meat off. Actually, I have my daughter, who's been filming so graciously, be the first taste tester. What do you say?
Okay.
Might be hot.
Mm.
Do you like it?
Mm. Really good.
Yeah? Alright, let me try it. It's definitely juicy. Oh yeah. I think these are the best ones I've ever made. These are really good. Sven, you want to try?
Sure.
You get one more opinion.
Mm. Definitely some of the best you've ever made.
Yep. 3 thumbs up?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Alright. Thanks a lot, everybody.